on this episode of the Social Hour, guest host Shannon Morse and I are going to talk about Facebook hashtags and Google buying Waze and RDO going international and the Foursquare time machine. Oh yeah, all that and your very own personal shopper next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Audio bandwidth provided by the new Winamp for Android, featuring wireless sync and one-click iTunes import. Now with free daily music downloads and full-length CD listening parties. Download it for free at winamp.com/Android. Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is the Social Hour with Sarah Lane and guest host Shannon Morse, episode 115, recorded June 14th, 2013. This episode of the Social Hour is brought to you by Social Media Solutions from SAP. If you're a social media manager at a large enterprise, gain insight and engage in social media with Social Media Solutions from SAP to improve your customer service and support experience. Take a guided tour at sap.com/twit. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour. And by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create a professional website, blog, portfolio, or online store. For a free trial and 10% off your first purchase on new accounts, go to squarespace.com and use the offer code SOCIALHOUR6. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fun-filled edition of the Social Hour from Twit World Headquarters in Petaluma, California, where it's a cool 85 degrees outside. See that? It's burning up in here. I'm Sarah Lane, and I'm joined by Shannon Morse, filling in for Amber today. Hello,
Yay.
Shannon. Hi. Hi.
It's good to see you again.
Good to see you, too, and thanks for doing this on such
Anytime.
late notice. For anybody who's like, what's happened to Amber? Is she okay? She is. Amber's doing some stuff in New York for, I don't know, one of her 4,000 projects that she always has going on. And I guess they've had really bad weather there, and her schedule had to be moved around. So she's got a bit of a conflict today, but thank you. We've got you, and you've been on the Social Hour before.
I have, yeah.
And you and I share a lot of the same love of these.
I'm obsessed with social networking.
Yeah, so it's just a perfect fit.
Thank you.
Fit. And of course you spend, well, I was about to say most of your time on Before You Buy, which is our product review show on Twit,
Yes.
but more and more you're doing other stuff too.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I just got back from E3. They, Twit was really nice enough to bring me down there and have me do all the live event coverage and producing for that. So that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot too, because that was the first time I've done it with Twit.
Yeah.
And I also do, you know, Hack 5 and whatnot as well. So busy, busy.
Busy, busy. Well, thanks for doing Friday afternoon with me.
Anytime.
And all of you. So let's start off with Facebook turning on those hashtags. We had heard in the past that Facebook had said, yeah, we're going to start making hashtags live. It's not as if you couldn't put in a pound sign and some sort of topic, but it wouldn't link to anything. Now it will. Do you, first of all, how do you feel about hashtags? Do you use them? Do you think they're helpful? Do you think they're overused?
I use them.
Yes.
A lot of the reasons for my use is to grow my own audience. For example, when I tweet about something that we showed on Before You Buy and it's in the news big time, like Google Glass or something, then I'll include the hashtag. But I also connect all of my Twitter feeds, all of my accounts, to Facebook. So anytime that I hashtag something in Twitter, it goes over to Facebook, and then all my friends on Facebook made fun of me because they were like, hashtags don't work on Facebook, don't you remember? Every time they do that, I'm just like, well, yeah, I know. It's from Twitter, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right, you're like, you don't really understand the vernacular, it's lost in translation.
Exactly.
It made a lot of sense over there.
So yeah, I use them a lot, but it kind of drives me crazy sometimes when I check out other people's Twitters or Instagrams, like my sister's, for example.
Yeah.
It's nothing but hashtags. She doesn't even say a word. It's just like 25 hashtags in a row, and I'm just like, you're just trying to get followers at that point.
It's weird, isn't it? Well, so that's the kind of funny thing is, in a way, hashtags can be a whole new language, almost like emojis would. But emojis are a visual representation of a word or a theme or something. Yeah. And hashtags always link back to something else. So it's like, it has a dual purpose.
Right.
I mean, in Facebook right now, I've gone ahead and typed in hashtag cats up at the top. This is, you know, the way that you'd search for a user or some sort of a brand page. And I've got a variety of topics that are all hashtag cats. This is what they share in common. So it's just sort of an aggregate. Now, of course, something like hashtag cats is pretty broad. If I was looking for anything specific, it's probably not the best way to search for them. But, you know, what if I was searching for, like, I don't know, Mad Men, right? That might be a little bit more specific because it's, you know, a show that I watch every Sunday and a lot of other people do. And yeah, so, you know, you kind of have some topical stuff. I don't know. I think in general, there's nothing to lose for Facebook by people equating it with being able to look through topics this way.
Yeah. Of course, you're going to have the people that will use way too many hashtags in every single comment that they put on Facebook. But in some cases, I think it would be really useful because I could type in hashtag Game of Thrones and find out who of my Facebook friends uses watches Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's
instead
true.
of just like the entire Twitter sphere, which is, you know, half of them aren't my friends. So what's the point of searching for that on there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Then there's the whole Facebook thing where I have a lot of Facebook friends. Some of them just aren't very techie.
Mine too.
Maybe, you know, from previous lives, that sort of thing. And they overuse hashtags, but they don't use them appropriately. You know, it's like it's like a picture of like, hey, picnic on Sunday, hashtag love my kid, hashtag the best, hashtag super cute. Or it's like, I get what you're doing, but that actually is going to be less helpful now because people will be like, what does this mean? I'm going to click on it. It won't go anywhere. People do that on Twitter too, but they usually think they're being comedians about it.
Yeah, of course.
Right? So, I don't know. I'm kind of over that whole I'm being funny hashtag.
Oh, you are?
I'm like, make it relevant.
Yeah. All of mine are relevant. I try to keep everything relevant whenever I send out a tweet. But yeah, on Facebook, I've had so many problems with people just saying like, this doesn't make sense to me. And I'm just like, well, it's from Twitter. It makes sense there.
Right.
Sorry.
Live in the now, high school friends. All right, let's move on to big story this week. This has been brewing for a couple of months. The idea that Waze, which is the social mapping company, would be bought by somebody. We heard Apple was interested. We heard Facebook was interested. Then we heard Google was maybe interested in order to keep Facebook away from Waze. Probably never going to know all of the talks that Waze may have had with various companies, but it is official. Google has acquired Waze and says, which is interesting because Google, of course, is based in Silicon Valley, but obviously has presence around the world. But Waze is based in Israel. And although they have some folks that are working in the U.S., it's an Israeli company. They apparently will continue to operate out of Israel for the time being. Google says, we'll keep our hands off of it for now. And if you look at the statistics of Waze, the majority of the people who use Waze are in the U.S. So, you know, obviously the U.S. is a lot bigger than Israel, but it seems it's interesting. And there's a really great TechCrunch article that Brian showed up recently, a couple minutes ago, that is just a little bit of like, why would Google want something like this?
Yeah,
Shannon,
I have the same thought.
Do you, what's your thought? Do you think Google needs social?
At first I was like, I totally agreed with the TechCrunch article. Why in the world would Google want to buy Waze? Like, there's no point in it to me. I use Google Maps every day, and it feels like that's the most popular map service out there. But then I think about, well, when I'm in traffic or whenever I'm out on the road on a long destination and I'm going cross country or something, when do I use Waze? And the only time I really use it is when there's major traffic, when there's an accident, or when, you know, there's a ton of cops on the road or something like that. And in that case, Waze is perfect. And Google doesn't give you that kind of search function, that kind of compatibility to show you what's going on the road and what people have said and, you know, why there is traffic. It just gives you a little red line and says, oh, well, you know, you're going to be stuck here for half an hour. So it doesn't give you, you know, it doesn't tell you where the cop is. It doesn't tell you there's an accident in the right lane, make sure you get over to the left and things like that.
Yeah, the context of the social part of Waze, I think, is what people like about it so much. And Waze has, I think about 50 million users, and you think, well, Google, I mean, lots of people use Google Maps. It's not as if they're like, hey, we need to boost our viewership or boost our user numbers, so we need to buy a big company with a lot of users. But it's a different kind of user.
Yeah.
I mean, the Waze community is used to being like, heads up, it's just a cluster out here. Please go the other, you know, that sort of.
And they give you great rerouting functions too. Like if you plug in like, hey, I'm going here, Waze will show you exactly where to go based on everybody's user input, which is so cool. And that's something that Google also doesn't have. So I really hope that with them purchasing Waze, they get some more integration into Google Maps even, so I don't necessarily have to go into Waze every time I need to find out what's going on the road.
Yeah. Another thing I think is probably something that Google's really interested in is, because Google is an advertising company,
of course.
Makes a lot of money through Google Ads, and Waze had rolled out their own ad product. I think it was fall of 2012 or sometime around there, that would, for example, if you're on the highway and you're about to pass, you know, an off-ramp where there's a particular kind of restaurant that you like a restaurant chain, you know, that you've indicated you're interested in. Whole Foods is an example that Waze has used in the past. I love Whole Foods. They have kombucha that I like. I want to know where the nearest Whole Foods is if I'm kind of out of my element somewhere, you know, on an unfamiliar stretch of road. So that's really interesting too. I think Google could probably benefit from that highly localized ad platform.
Oh yeah, they totally can. I would love to see some actual app coupons that I could use, you know?
Yeah, no
when I'm
kidding.
driving around and searching for food, I would love to be able to put into Waze or put into Google like, hey, I want Japanese food. And then it just showed me like, oh, well, we have a coupon, we have an advertisement for this person, so you should go here. And it's just right on my route.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. Just don't, you know, don't stop looking at the road if you're the only one in the car. This is great for passengers. Otherwise, you really need to be like stopped in traffic. So yeah, I think Google's really smart. Google has the best map product right now.
Yeah.
Nobody can touch Google yet. With Waze, they've got a whole nother dimension of their map product. Facebook could build a social mapping whatever. They probably already are, but they'll still be far behind. All right, let's move on to the social network that nobody uses, MySpace. That's not very nice. I mean, Justin Timberlake uses it.
It's so true. The only people I see on there are music artists, and that's cool. I mean, it's a very, very nice service for music artists, but I quit and I deleted my account like years ago.
Yeah, I'm not interested in MySpace either, Shannon. I'm not. But maybe their new web design might lure us back. I don't know. Let's go ahead and sign in. I thought I was already signed in. I'll sign in through Twitter. Let's authenticate. Go ahead and sign in.
I love this new design.
Do you?
Well, the first time I saw it, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, it's Windows 8.
Really?
With the side scrolling and the different little tiles for each of the people and how some of them are larger than other ones. All we need to do is move them around a little bit and then have some customization and it'd be Windows 8.
I guess you're right. Jeez.
Doesn't it?
Well,
it looks like the start menu. It looks like that screen. The whole side scrolling.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, sorry, I'm trying to remember my stupid password now that I apparently am. See, I'm not on MySpace enough. That's sort of my dirty secret here. Let's see if that's right. But yeah, in the meantime, we're looking at what Brian's showing on his. We're not signed in yet, so it's not personalized, but just MySpace in general. This is not too different than their original big relaunch, right? But yeah, things have changed a bit. The problem that I have with MySpace, and you're right, Shannon, that it's kind of got that, yeah, that tiled look. It's very clean, it's very modern. This is what, you know, all the cool kids are doing right now. But it's messy at the same time.
It is, yeah.
There's like I don't really understand my navigation here.
I don't either. One thing I noticed too is whenever you click on somebody's name and you go into their profile, and then you go into, I believe it's one of the drop-down menus, or if you side scroll, it looks just like Pinterest. Yeah, like that. It is. When I saw that, I was like, oh, so they're using the Pinterest, that look. Go figure.
Which is like,
which everybody is.
Which is
now.
Yeah, like join the club. Yeah, you know, if everyone looks like Pinterest, no one's going to stand out anymore.
Yeah. So for me, the new MySpace, it doesn't necessarily feel new. It just feels like they're using all these different interfaces and combining them into the new MySpace.com.
I just don't. It's too bad because I don't.
It's pretty.
It is pretty. I mean, this is certainly better looking than Facebook.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot prettier.
It's absolutely super, super visual.
And it's fast. I like that it's fast and it works on, you know, anything from my i3 to my i7 processors, which is great because sometimes you get to websites like this and they break all suddenly. Okay, so this show me recommended people, that creeps me out. Because you can choose to look for males or females in certain age groups by certain zip codes and everything.
Really?
Totally creepy. I tried that out and I searched the Petaluma area. I didn't find anybody that I knew necessarily, but it was kind of odd. And I was like, oh, well, in case you're looking for your next date within the age of, you know, 18 to 20.
I'm finally in. I'm finally into my MySpace. So, lo and behold, it kind of doesn't look too different than when I'm signed out. Okay. I also don't have a lot of contacts on MySpace because I sort of triumphantly quit MySpace years ago. It was just like, I don't even think I didn't even have a Facebook account. I was just like, I hate this.
Now,
this isn't fun for me.
Did you connect this to, oh, it looks like you can connect to Twitter and Facebook.
You can.
Okay, that's good.
Which is, it's good, you know, if they're already on MySpace. A lot of people aren't. So then it just sort of becomes a spammy thing. Like, come join me on MySpace. And hopefully that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I hope not.
But yeah, I don't know. It's okay, Shannon. I don't think anybody's gonna, I feel like MySpace is, they've got a great design. There's nothing wrong with it, but everybody is so entrenched in the latest and greatest. Facebook is itself feeling a little long in the tooth for a social network, but who's gonna go back to MySpace? We're all looking for what's next, because I think just even like the name recognition, no matter what it looks like, it still reminds us of, oh, that's what people used to use.
Why would old school.
It's old school. Yeah. It's old school, and it's you know, it's got a pretty bow on its head, but it's still that old network. Well, all right. Figured you guys would like to know.
It attempted to redesign.
You lifted and you tightened, but we know who's underneath.
Good job, MySpace.
Still, yeah, nobody. No one's there. Good job, MySpace. Keep on keeping on. Shannon, Netflix user?
Oh, totally. Yeah, all the time.
Are you excited about the user profiles that will be launching later this summer?
I have a terrible story, and it's kind of embarrassing.
Okay.
But so Keith, my fiance, and I share our Netflix account together. And whenever he's not home, not only do I watch Doctor Who, of course, but I also watch these really, really crappy, you know, bridal shows, like Bridezillas and stuff like that, which is terrible, and I feel embarrassed about it.
It's okay. I went through a Bridezillas phase as well.
I've tried to keep this secret from Keith for a very long time, but whenever he logs on to it, he sees our most recently watched. And then recently
even
he
if
got
it's not
an email.
queued up,
He recently got an email that was like, since you watch Bridezillas, you might want to know that season 9 just came out, new episodes. And I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I was like, I need to stop watching horrible, embarrassing things on Netflix.
but it's cool though. It's like, so as I understand it, Netflix right now 2 users can stream from the same account simultaneously. That's not going to change. But yeah, if you've got a household of 5, you can have a variety of user profiles. So it's kind of like Netflix saying, we understand that you're not going to have 5 different accounts.
And I like that. I like that a lot, because I don't want, you know, Keith to get up on our Netflix and be like, oh, nothing in my recently watched is anything that I want to watch because it's all Shannon's crappy brides shows. It's kind of embarrassing.
I actually, there was one point where I don't even know. I have my own Netflix account, but for whatever reason, I had to log into a friend's Netflix account. I don't know. This was a while ago, and I was looking at his viewing history, and I was like, "Really?
Yeah.
Was this you?" And he's like, "Well, you're not."
Sometimes I get really curious about a title, and I have to go watch it, and then it ends up being like this horribly, really, really terrible, like G-rated movie or something, and I'm like, ugh.
Well, yeah. I guess there are some perks to living alone. We're not sharing a Netflix account with anybody.
Now, I do have a question about this, though. Will this give you the ability to have 2 different streaming queues? Or will you just have the one that's still combined for all the users?
Well, if you've got, that's a good question. If you've got 2 different, you should.
I assume 2 different profiles means that you'll have 2 different streaming queues. but it didn't really say whenever I looked up the information about it. So I guess maybe we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's see. Netflix will allow subscribers to set multiple user profiles on a single account. The service will either allow 5 or 6, apparently they're still deciding which is the magic number, different users store their taste preferences on one account so that Netflix's engines can serve up personalized recommendations. I don't know. It sounds like one single queue.
Just with different recommendations and different, like, recently watched and things like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wish they would include that, like having separate queues, because if I did have a kid at home, I wouldn't necessarily want to have all the kid shows on my own queue, and same with like the bridal shows and stuff like that.
It seems like it's better for, hey, individual person on a group account, I've seen you watch this while you were logged in as yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll like this. So then it still goes into one big queue, which is probably how if they were to give you separate queues, then it's like, well, basically we have a bunch of different Netflix accounts.
Yeah.
Without paying extra. So they're only going to give us so much.
So close.
Speaking of only so much, it looks as if you are to believe a Valleywag article, Valleywag, of course, is sort of a gossipy a part of Gawker.com, which was actually gone for a while, and now it's back. Oyster.com may be headed for the Deadpool, meaning it sounds like it's not long for this world. Oyster.com is a site that I've used, Shannon, quite a bit, not too recently, but in the past when I was wanting to look up what a particular hotel would be like, and I was looking for real photos that weren't sort of like splashy photos that the hotel had on their own website, where every single picture looks super beautiful, and you're like, oh, every room is, facing the ocean, and the sun sets right over the water, and then you get there and you're like, gosh, it really doesn't look like the pictures.
Yeah.
The whole idea was users submitted, and actually Oyster staff members going to a variety of places around the world, giving realistic versions of these, hotels that you might want to stay at. So
that's cool, but it kind of sounds like Yelp. So,
well, a little bit, yeah, or like a TripAdvisor.
Right. Yeah.
Too. I think Oyster was definitely has the right intentions, but they seem to have pivoted a bit. It's like it was sort of part travel agency, then it was a little bit of like a you're on your own, but we're going to help you discover stuff. Gosh, a couple years ago I had gone to Hawaii, and Hawaii is notorious for things seeming, because it's like, oh, it's Hawaii, it's blissful, and it's like, well, there's some kind of crappy vacation rentals in Hawaii. And I thought Oyster was really, really helpful. Yeah, especially like on a beach. Like, realistically, what does the beach look like? Is it full of people? Because that's what Oyster is showing us. The hotel makes it seem like you'll be, one of 3. So I'm not exactly sure why the model failed. Maybe
That's
just
so funny.
all the competition, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
this is
probably
something
is the competition
you can do on social networks that do other things.
Yeah, that's a shame. I mean, I've never used Oyster in the past, but had I known more about it, I probably would.
Yeah.
Just to check it out, because sometimes the reviews on Yelp aren't necessarily completely honest.
Right.
Like, you have staff members or whatnot go on there and make a review about their own hotel.
Yeah.
Which hopefully doesn't happen as much now. But it would be nice to use a second opinion now and then.
Especially when it relates to specifically kind of like, this is what your room is going to look like. On Yelp, you get a lot of pictures of food.
Yes,
or
you
like,
do.
or just pictures
a lot of close-ups, and I want the big spans, the big pano, so I know exactly what I'm getting.
All right, well, Oyster, I don't know. I hope everyone who works there or worked there is doing okay. Quick reminder that we record the Social Hour live on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And if you ever want to go back to any of the shows that we've done and revisit some of the topics we talked about, certain news articles, maybe you're looking for links, you can always go to twit.tv/TSH. All of our subscription links are there too. That means if you want to just get the audio or the video version of the show delivered to you without you having to think about it, as soon as we push it out Friday afternoons, you can do that here. Or you can just watch the videos episode by episode right on our episode pages. Last week we had a really great interview with Mitch Joel. He's an author and very, very insightful when it comes to the future of social. So if you missed that, I really recommend you go back and take a look. All right, before we get into some of our spotlights of the week, we got some tips to get through. Let's take a moment to thank SAP for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. We love social media solutions from SAP because it just makes sense. We know a lot of you like the Social Hour because you work in the social enterprise. You're working for companies and you're in charge of managing what people are saying about your brand out in the universe and how you can get back to them. I actually got kind of snarky on Twitter yesterday because I had a bad experience with an airline that shall remain nameless. And I have to their credit, within a minute of my tweet, and I hadn't even really replied them specifically, they got right back to me, reaching out, wanting to make things better. That's what social media solutions from SAP is all about, because people might be complaining or talking about your company all over the web. It could be in Facebook, it could be on their personal blog, it could be in some sort of product review page that you wouldn't even find normally. You want to keep on top of that. So, two components of social media solutions. The listening component. This is where you're listening to the web. Who's talking about you? All that stuff comes funneling in, and you get a lot of interesting information about: is the customer angry? Where are they located? How do I sort of glean the sentiment of this? Or are they ready to buy my product? Do they need a little bit of follow-up that'll help me help them? And SAP uses natural language processing, or NLP. This is basically, the big data at work. It intelligently and automatically knows the differences between little words that people might say. Two sentences that seem really quite the same on paper might mean very different things because there's a context element involved. Then, of course, you want to engage with these users. Are they angry? Well, you want somebody to, maybe offer them a perk or a solution, or in some way reach out. Maybe they're just having some, tech support issues, and maybe they're just complaining. And either way, you want to be able to engage with them. Activity on a social media stream can lead to direct customer engagement. You can drive sales. You can solve customer problems, and so they end up being loyal customers because they really appreciate it. And of course, you just respond to customer feedback rapidly. Doesn't take you, a week, and doesn't, take you sort of like figuring out eventually, oh, this person was really mad. Now you get right back to them. And if somebody posts a negative review, you can rapidly remedy a problem. If this sounds like something your enterprise wants to use and for some reason are not already, if you just want to pass the idea along to somebody, go to sap.com/twit. That's where you can take a guided tour, and you can see for yourself a lot more about how social media solutions from SAP actually works and how you might be able to incorporate it into your company as well. And thanks to SAP for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. Boy, it is hard to keep on top of that stuff, I'll tell you.
I agree.
Even at Twit, it's like I try to keep on top of what people are saying about all of our shows.
Yeah, me too.
And if someone's being trolly, that's one thing, but you still kind of want to reach out and be nice.
Yeah, I agree. I run a store for Hack5, and one of my big deals is keeping my customers happy. And if there ever is an issue and they tweet about it on Twitter or something like that at the Hack Shop, the first thing I do is get on there and make sure that everything's okay, or send them a discount or a return or something like that. And sometimes I don't see it for a week, and then they're really unhappy with me, but I really should check it more often, so that would help.
Yeah.
That'd be very helpful.
It's great, especially for as enterprise companies where it's like you have a lot of feedback coming in. So that's SAP. Now let's move on to RDO, which is my very favorite music subscription company. And the reason, actually, Shannon, the reason that it is because a lot of people say, well, why not Spotify? Isn't Spotify bigger and has more users? And that doesn't really bother me. For the most part, I find that Spotify and RDO have pretty similar music collections.
Yeah.
There are some restrictions. Some artists don't play nicely, but RDO has a really good social component. I think Spotify is catching up, but RDO, I have already kind of got my social network in place on my RDO stream. In fact, if I pull it up on my iPad, I can show you what I mean for anybody who's not really familiar with how RDO works. Like, I'll look at my recent activity section, and these are, you know, people that I'm connected to on Rdio, and I can see what they've added to their collections recently. Or Ron Golden updated his playlist with an album by Defibrillator. Well, I don't know that album. I've never heard of this band before. Cool. All right, that's like 9 songs that I can go ahead and start playing. So I find, especially because a lot of the friends I have on Rdio are my music friends. My friend Laura is like, she never misses a show. So I actually take into like high consideration music that Laura adds to her collection. I love this about Rdio.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really social. But one of the things that that people bag on Rdio and Spotify about is that they aren't in that many markets. So the good news is that Rdio is now going to be present in Malaysia, in Hong Kong, Colombia, Chile, the Czech Republic, Switzerland, and Poland. I think that's as of yesterday. So yeah, like a huge, huge new market offering, because beforehand it was, gosh, the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. I think that was it. So
that's awesome. Good
nice
on Rdio for increasing their demand. How do
you feel about the social music thing? Do you care what your friends like? Because I know it's not for everybody.
You know, it gets kind of overwhelming whenever I see a lot of updates on Facebook, for example, of people listening to certain things. And I find that a lot of times I don't have the time to search through whatever they're listening to and listen to it myself, because, you know, when I'm on Facebook on my phone, it's when I'm running around the office or something like that, and I can't necessarily play it. But I do think it's pretty cool. I just don't use it that often.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very into the sort of cloud music thing, just because I no longer want to take up hard drive space with music.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I know.
My hard drive at home is like 500 gigs of music, and that's it. It's insane.
It's funny. Tom Merritt, everybody here knows Tom Merritt. He's like, I like my music to be mine. I like to feel like, you know, it's local. I can do what I want with it. It's never going to go away. And that's great. But I also have friends who say, how do you listen to all this stuff? You know, because I'm always saying that, did you hear the new so-and-so album? And it's like, I would never buy half of this stuff.
Yeah.
I just like listening to it once or twice so I know if I like it or not, you know, just for the opinion type of thing. So that's why I like it. But anyway, yes, congratulations to new Rdio users. Let us know if you like it. If you're in one of these countries that just got Rdio, please do write us, the social hour at twit.tv, and let us know why you like it or don't like it. Maybe you like something else better. We want to know that too. All right, here is a little tip. If you are interested in a lot of information, demographic information about people who follow you on Twitter and the kinds of things that they like to know and they like to hear from you, Twitter has a new free analytics tool that kind of seems like something that they'd roll out for brands, would be really, really interesting for brands. But this is for anybody. Anybody who's got a Twitter account can log on to their analytics account at analytics.twitter.com. You go ahead and log in using your credentials, and it'll tell you a lot of information about your tweet history. So for example, I'm looking at my own tweet history, and I end up, a lot of my tweets are at replies to people asking questions that are tweet related. So those aren't going to get necessarily a lot of faves or retweets or replies. That's fine, not a big deal. But going through them, I'm just kind of scrolling here. These are, you know, the chronologically from newest first. I go, Sundays are pointless again, and then I hashtag GOT, which means Game of Thrones, because I was very upset on Sunday that the season had ended. And it's like, well, hey, for me, that does pretty well. And then if you hover over the 16 retweets, it says, highlighted because the number of retweets is in the top 15% for you, excluding zeros, because those just aren't counted anything, between the 15th of May and the 15th of June. So Twitter isn't saying this is like the most retweeted thing ever, but in a period of time, you know, this is something that people see, it resonated with people. And I actually looked at this tool yesterday, and it's like, my Game of Thrones stuff tends to do quite well on Twitter, so I think I should be talking about that more. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
The hashtags are great, man.
That's probably why. But what's even cooler is like, okay, you get timeline activity, and here, you know, in the last 2 months, you know, I've gotten more follows than unfollows, but I did get quite a few unfollows, so that's something to take into consideration. If I go ahead and click on the followers tab here, this is actually even more interesting to me because, yeah, I can see how, you know, my Twitter follower count is steadily rising. I don't get really bumps, but I'm, you know, slow and steady wins the race, I guess. But here are interests of people who follow me. Number one being tech news, so that's awesome. That seems relevant.
Makes sense.
Yeah, tablets, computer reviews, Mac OS. The interests of people who follow me, I have to guess that that is pulled from things like their bio or keywords of their own tweets. And then locations of where the majority of my followers are based. Whether or not they're male or female, most of them are male, which is, you know, story of my life.
Right.
As far as
Me
just,
too.
you know, our industry, right? That's not a huge surprise, but it's kind of cool to see this in a graphic form. And then other people that my followers follow. I don't know why Snubs isn't on there, but, you know, it's basically everybody who's ever worked at Twit. And then if you click into, let's say, of these people, I'm actually only interested in those people that are interested in tech news. So if I go ahead and click on that, then it changes. Okay, well, yeah, of those
give you
people.
more directional information.
Exactly. Of those tech news specific people, where are they located? How many of them are male versus female? Do they also like things like business end news? Or, you know, comedy, and you can see some of the stuff turns red where it's like, yeah, really, of your tech news people, they're also not the action adventure people. I don't know what that is.
They're not the romance people.
Right. They're not. No, it's one or the other. One or the other. Tech news
That's really awesome.
or love. Yeah.
I need to start using this. This would be so helpful, especially in our business, you know, having to learn about what our people really want to watch and what people are really interested in seeing.
Exactly.
What kind of videos. This is, yeah, I'm really happy that Twitter has included this, finally.
I do too. I am too. And I think part of it is probably because there are some third-party services that offer some of these features.
But there's ads on them, and sometimes they might build in something extra where they're like, oh, but you have to sign up if you want to get all of your information, which is kind of annoying.
Or it turns into, you know, there's like a Twitter authorization thing, and then all of a sudden
they tweet for you.
They tweet for you. That's happened to me infrequently, thank goodness, but it has happened, and that's really annoying. And then this is kind of Twitter just controlling the experience, which of course Twitter likes to do. Twitter's just not so crazy about the third-party apps anymore.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're just like, eh. So yes, analytics.twitter.com, go nuts, find out more about the people that follow you, especially people who watch the Social Hour, because I know that many of you use Twitter as a place for your personal brand. You take it seriously, and it is important what people want to hear more about from you in order to beef up your community. Speaking of community, Twitter has launched something called Follow Me, which is kind of like a highlight reel based on tweets that you've sent, photos that you've shared, maybe Vines. Vine, of course, is the 6-second service that Twitter bought before it launched earlier this year, and now is part of Twitter. And can you play that, Brian?
Yeah. How does this work?
I think it's just a screen cap.
Oh, really? Oh, that's silly. Let me log into mine. Let's get Visify up here. Oh, sorry. Well, gosh, Engadget's launched. I hate it when they do. Don't you hate it when a tech blog, will highlight a product name and then you click on that, but it's just linking you to blog posts that mention that product in the past. So annoying when you guys do that. So annoying. Well, crap. Oh, here we go. Visify.com. All right, well, it'll take me a second. But no, this is, if you've seen any of you who have seen people talking about like, oh, my Follow Me stream is really sort of horrifying. It's because they've been using this tool. I'm trying to find the right one. Oh gosh, I'm on the wrong page now. All right, well, I'll try to come back to this later in the show because I'm a little bit off kilter. But if you haven't tried the Follow Me feature on Twitter, which uses Visify as the engine, it's interesting. It kind of gives you a little bit more about your own habits. So maybe not so much about people that follow you, but like, here's, if you look back in time, you really tend to tweet a lot in the morning, type of a thing.
Okay.
And these are some of the the highlights of the things that you tend to talk about. So again, using data in a visualistic way.
Well, it's a lot easier to remember a lot of times when they give you a visual data sphere like that. A lot of times I'll read an article or something and I really don't soak it in. And I have to sit there and look at images to understand exactly what's going on with my analytics. So they're really helpful. I like graphs.
I do too. I do too. See your Twitter story in a whole new light. Click here.
Yes.
Okay, I think this is it. Play, email address, authorized with Twitter. Let's go in. Oh, I still have to provide a valid email address. Now I just really want to do this, you guys.
Now we have to do
Now
it.
we have to, because I made a big deal out of it. Authorize the app, yeah, sure. That's what I'm talking about. The app authorizing.
Authorizations.
Redirecting you back to the application. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Rounding
so
up
it's
things.
gathering all of your data.
Best photos, top topics, best Vine videos. I've sent like 3. Top tweet ever. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. And when do I tweet? Now it's pondering, it's assembling the scenes, it's inserting dramatic pauses. Oh, aren't you funny, Visify?
So do people have to go to Visify to create this?
I believe Twitter, in a blog post, they have their own landing page for this.
Okay.
But yeah, it's basically just the Visify engine.
Okay, cool.
Boy, this is taking a while. It's probably because I've been on Twitter so long.
How long have you been on Twitter for?
Video is almost set. Make sure your sound is on. We don't need that. I've been on Twitter since March of 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about the time that I started too.
Oh, look. Oh, I remember that. Oh, that was me at the Super Bowl. Oh, that's that guy I used to date. I tweet about shows, apps, episodes.
Of course.
When
yes.
do I tweet? All day long, y'all. Not really in the middle of the night, thank goodness. I'm just called Tesla, a loser company. Who are our top followers? Ayaz!
Yay!
Leo! Tom! Oh, this is fun. Oh, that was on Beta Breakers Day. That was one of my Vine videos that I shared. This is so fun! That's my top Vine video. And that's my profile picture.
Oh, that was cute.
That was fun! I liked that.
Okay, so it's not as analytical as I would have thought.
No.
It's more fun.
It's more fun. Yeah. Or in this one guy
Can you share it? That would be fun.
yeah, no, you can.
Cool.
You can. Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a nice little look into my life.
It was so cute.
I had forgotten about the whole World Series show. That was the first World Series that the Giants won in the last.
Awesome.
They've won 2 World Series in the last 3 years. Not that I'm bragging or anything, but you know, the first one was probably a more loved shared video. So that's follow me on Twitter. Let's move on to another very cool visual, Shannon, and that is Foursquare's new, hey, here's where you've been since you've been part of Foursquare. I've also been part of Foursquare since, gosh, I mean, soon after it launched. It was big at South by Southwest in 2008.
Yeah.
So there's a good, 5 years and some change of data that I've been providing it. So if I go ahead and say, all right, well, let's press play to begin. I've signed in at foursquare.com/time machine. And if I go ahead and say, okay, let's start. Let's see where I started to press play to begin. I did, didn't I? Aren't you going? Jeez, I got problems here. Okay, so we're in San Francisco. Oh,
I noticed it starts kind of slow.
It starts kind of slow. Yeah, I'm moving around San Francisco here. And then
every time you fly somewhere, it gives you that data.
Yeah, this is me probably going to South by, because I think I was testing out the app a little bit before I ever got into town. Yeah, that's March 12th, we're at March 15th, 2010 now.
Wow.
Now I'm flying back. Well, 2010 wouldn't have been, that's later on. So, yeah, it's a little bit clunky. Also, my computer doesn't usually
yeah, I tried
handle this data very well.
On a desktop PC, and it was a lot more fluid.
Fluid, yeah.
But it's slow. I would love to be able to speed it up.
This is me going to New York. Oh, this is so neat. It's kind of, you know, as you can see, it sort of cuts it off in one of our monitors here, but you're seeing at what time of day, you know, what day of what year these things are all being. This is so. I remember that. That was for a Disrupt conference a while ago.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I think this is. Honestly, the reason, even though Foursquare has now become this kind of like exploration app where it's supposed to help tell you, you know, places that you might want to go based on where you are, and it's, you know, highly location based. It's not so much about the gamification, you know, of being a mayor. I still check in. I still actually have a couple mayorships that are very important to me. But
I'm still the mayor of the Walmart in Missouri.
How's that
I haven't
possible?
been there in like a year and a half.
Just obviously not a place where Foursquare is widely
like
used.
nobody uses it, so I'm still the mayor of a Walmart.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Especially since,
Very
like,
proud.
how long since you've been to that Walmart?
It's been like a year and a half.
Yeah, so that's like.
So obviously either nobody checks in there or nobody cares to use it there.
Right.
Which
I mean,
probably the latter.
And that's something that Foursquare gets criticized for.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, depending on where you live, it's like, well, none of my friends are using Foursquare. Why would I want to use this? Well, Foursquare is a lot nicer when it's about other things besides just, you know, what your friends are doing and checking in and that sort of thing. But I do find that just as like a look back into where you've been, honestly, the locations that you've been,
it's fun.
Yeah, it can be really fun.
It's fun and memorable, and sometimes I do forget what restaurant I checked out on a certain vacation. So this would be really cool. I could be like, oh, I did go to that place on that corner of, you know, Market and 2nd or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly. Now where am I flying? I'm going a long way. 2,000, I gotta be going overseas. Let's find out.
I tried it with one of our employees here, Patrick Delahanty, and he noticed that it completely skipped over when he moved here. Like all the different places that he went during his drive from where he used to live to over here, completely skipped out all the check-ins, which was so weird.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, so maybe it just does it for the different cities you've been to that you've flown to or something?
That's
kind of strange.
Must be. You know what it is, I bet, is it's just live in certain areas. Because, yeah, that's a really good point. Sometimes you have a stopover in Colorado or so it's like that. I never saw anything like that.
No layovers.
Running on battery reserve power. Make sure your battery is more than 5% before you run the Foursquare time machine. It's very neat, though. It's very neat, though. If you're a Foursquare
really cool.
user, definitely check it out. Okie dokie. Let's take another little break. Everybody take a deep breath so we can thank Audible.com for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. Shannon, you mentioned, what was it that you mentioned that was really good on Audible?
Oh, yes, Princess. It's the story of a girl who grew up in Saudi Arabia who was a princess.
Love that.
Yeah.
So
Her
Princess.
whole life story.
And it's nonfiction.
Right.
Which is the nice thing about Audible, because a lot of people say, I don't really read novels. I don't really like those mystery novels or, you know, racy novels like the 50 Shades of Grey. But Audible has quite a large collection of nonfiction titles too.
Right.
And some of these are, you know, these are some of the best books because it's like, hey, that really happened. This is really, really cool. Audible has over 100,000 titles. In fact, they're all downloadable across all different types of books, literature, nonfiction. I mean, you name it, you can find it on Audible. What's neat about Audible is it allows you to read books when you're actually doing other things. I mean, I don't have that much time to read, honestly. At the end of the day, I'm kind of tired, and, you know, I can sit in bed and try to read, and I usually wake up with a book on my face. But I do a lot of commuting.
Me too.
Yeah, a lot of, you know, time at the gym. And Audible's so great for that.
Love Audible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my new favorite thing. I'm obsessed with it. I signed up for the like platinum account.
Did you?
After I tried the free month. Yeah, because I couldn't get enough books. I was like, I want more, I want more. And 2 books every month is perfect for my commute. It's exactly what I need.
Because you have a bit of a commute, just like I do. So it's like we're captive audiences.
Yes.
And it's nice to have something to look forward to.
I don't want to stop reading, so I don't turn off my car. I'm like, oh, this is so good. I just want to get to the end of the chapter, and I just just sit there, listen to it for like 10 minutes.
That's like a common thing. It's like the only problem that we have is we end up idling in our cars a little bit too much because of audible.com. Exactly. For listeners and viewers of the Social Hour, if you have not tried audible.com yet, you should. You should definitely give it a try, and we will give you a free audiobook. It's actually Audible, but you know, in conjunction with Twit and the Social Hour. If you go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour, again, audiblepodcast.com/social hour, you can choose a free book of your choice while you try Audible free for 30 days. At the end of those 30 days, there's no commitment. You can go ahead and sign up for an account that makes the most sense. Platinum account is what Shannon finds is good for her. Leo says the same. He says, you know, 2 books a month, it's perfect for me. But at the end of that 30 days, if you decide not to go with it, you still keep that free book. So you really have nothing to lose. Give it a go. Give Audible a try. And again, audiblepodcast.com/social hour for that free book of your choice. And thanks to Audible for being such a long-running sponsor of our show. All right, Shannon, should we get to some email feedback?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Patrick wrote in, and he said, you may not have seen this before. It was a link to basically a Facebook book building service called Likebook at likebook.me. I was not familiar with Likebook beforehand, so I'm familiar with books like Printstagram makes an interesting book. Blurb is a good bookmaking company. Blurb is kind of on the a little bit more of the pro side of things, but Likebook is all about taking photos, updates, and other information from what you've actually posted on your Facebook wall over the years or over a specific period of time and putting it into a book, which I think is actually kind of neat, especially because some people don't spend any time on Instagram but spend a lot of time adding information to their Facebook page. What do you think, Shannon? Do you have any part of your Facebook history that you think would be a great coffee table book or maybe a gift?
It's cute. I would like to put like my uploaded photos on there, not necessarily the ones that I'm tagged in, but and some of the things that I've liked and whatnot, I don't think they belong in there, or things that have the most likes from my own profile. I don't really think they belong in a book, but definitely like the photos that I've uploaded. I think that would make a really cool book.
Yeah. Earlier, what's kind of neat about Likebook is you can say, I want to pull from my timeline. You know, it's like sort of like my Likebook. They seem pretty reasonable. This starts at $12. I can do a Likebook gift, which is sort of the same thing, but you know, it would be delivered to somebody wrapped. A Likebook, just a photo album. You know, maybe there was a wedding you attended. There's a really great photo album, and that should just be some book, and maybe you know, variety of people you know, contributed to it. A certain page that you might like. A Likebook love story, maybe between two people, or maybe friends. If I go ahead and click on friends, this is sort of cool, so I can say like, well, here's me, because I signed in with my Facebook account. I can go ahead and add friends to this book. So if I want to say like, add Shannon, I go ahead and find you. Shannon, see, this is, you know, this is how slow my computer is for anybody who's used to me complaining about it.
You need that new MacBook Air.
Yeah, I really do. Not Snannon, Shannon. God, hate this thing. Shannon. Oh, man. Gosh. Come on. There you go. There you go.
Come on, internets, you can do it.
Come on. Yes, I want Shannon to be part of my Likebook.
Gosh.
And then it kind of takes a while to retrieve the content. You can see it working up here because it's basically pulling from our stuff. That's a cute profile picture of you.
Thanks.
Yeah. But and then once that is pulled, you can sort of say like, well, what's it gonna look like? You know, I don't want it to be a surprise. Like, I'm not gonna send this to Shannon and be like, happy birthday, Shannon. Here's some of our best moments from Facebook.
Here's that photo of you drunk from that bar.
Right, where you're like, I don't really like this. This is like, I didn't want to remember this. But it'll let you preview in general, what the book looks like.
That's cool.
Yeah. For me, I was playing around with this a little bit earlier, and there are a lot of posts, especially stuff that it's not just for friends, it's public posts, that, you know, maybe I'll ask a question. And so there's a very lively comment debate. And that sometimes shows up, and it's like,
Right, yeah.
these aren't necessarily people that are like my good friends. They're kind of like more like Twit community people.
Yeah.
So I think, well, depending on how you use Facebook, some of the pages might be more relevant than others.
Yeah.
The photo aspect of it probably makes more sense. We'll check back with Likebook in a minute because it's going to take forever because apparently
Yay.
Shannon and I both have tons of stuff on there.
We do?
Yeah. We've got quite a bit of information that's going to be part of our Likebook.
Cool.
All right. In the meantime, last week, I don't know if you were watching last week, Shannon, but Amber and I showed off. Somebody had sent in a link about a kind of interesting campaign that Coca-Cola was putting on in Singapore. I think it was
did see
Singapore. Well, yeah, where it's sort of like share the Coke with a friend.
Yeah.
Well, we got quite a bit of feedback about this. Somehow the whole idea of sharing a Coke with a friend really struck a nerve with the social hour community. What do you think about this? Do you think this is cute? Do you think this is gimmicky?
I kind of agree with your viewer in that, the one that emailed in that I would totally save one of these for later because I can never drink a whole Coke can. They're
Really?
just too big for me, yeah. It's just way too much caffeine. It gives me a headache.
That's so funny because, yeah, so this is, Vicky said, and she said, I'm probably the only one who feels this way. Well, Vicky, you're not alone because Shannon agrees. She says, I usually have a Coke in the car to sip on while I drive. It's good in the beginning, but then it gets flat. The new Coke can concept might seem gimmicky, but it sounds perfect for me. I'll drink half the Coke, and then the other half is waiting for me to pop the top later. She says, I know Coke is available in smaller cans, but then they're like as expensive as the regular size ones,
Yeah,
and this
they
just
are.
makes more sense. So it's not always just to share. It has like the added benefit of people saying, I want the same amount of Coke,
Yeah.
just not all at once.
Especially if it costs the same as a regular Coke can or maybe just a couple of pennies more, then I'd be willing to, if I still drink soda,
Yeah.
then I'd be willing to purchase it,
Which you don't.
which I don't.
No, I don't either. See, I'm
I
sort
went
of
to
like,
tea.
I don't know. I am too. Tea and coffee. That's my soda. But we did get another email from Danny in North Carolina who had the same sentiment. She said, yeah, I agree with Sarah that the split Coke can probably, won't be a big hit. But I remember as a kid having to share one 12-ounce can of soda with my 3 siblings while my mother took us shopping. Sure would have been nice to split a can down the middle. Then I could be sure that my sister wasn't taking more than her fair share. Also, as an adult, I have trouble drinking a full can of soda, even though I like it. So, there you go. Some of us like soda, just not that much. So, Coke, you should think about this. Maybe it's not so much about sharing, it's about giving people smaller portions. All right, and finally, this just in, kind of. This was a story that broke right before our show. It's not really much of a story yet, but apparently Facebook is launching some sort of mysterious product on June 20th. So that is in just under a week.
Oh God, it's not another Facebook phone, is it?
Well, I don't know.
I hope not.
It says a small team has been working on a big idea. Join us for coffee and learn about a new product. Now, there sure are a lot of product launches these days, Shannon. I mean,
There are. There's tons.
Yeah, it's, between
It's hard to keep up with.
E3 and WWDC just this week alone, there was all sorts of stuff going on. But what do you suppose, is there anything to be read into by the coffee portion of it, or is that just like, don't think we're gonna feed you
Maybe
breakfast?
they're making a coffee maker with a share button. I just had a cappuccino, share.
Share
Great.
half your coffee with a friend.
It's a perfect
You
idea. I
split it
love
right
this.
down the middle. Yeah, it's like, then again, this could be Facebook likes to call pretty much anything that they change in the
Products.
Facebook experience a product.
Yeah.
So
it could be some kind of change to their website.
it could be, yeah, some sort of analytics tool they could call a product. I have no idea. I thought we could speculate for a second as to what Facebook could possibly be launching. What do
hope
you
it's not
want from
another phone.
Facebook that you
What do
don't
I
have
want?
yet?
Gosh, that's tough.
Yeah. It's like they have all the copycat apps that everybody else has.
Specifically a photo app from Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, we have that already.
Yeah. We sure do.
This is hard.
We've got Facebook Photos, we've got Facebook Messenger, we've got Facebook Poke.
Right.
We've got Instagram, if you count that as a Facebook product. Well,
They have check-ins already.
They have check-ins.
Which I don't use.
No, they did. They did just kill their sponsored stories section, that was like the very annoying Facebook feature where it would sort of seem like you were a spokesperson for a brand because maybe you said that you liked it a lot. You know, it's like it didn't go over that well with the community. So
yeah, I didn't like that very much.
Who knows? Who knows? But then again, it's like Facebook does roll out apps, and they don't have events. The apps just get rolled out. I mean, you know, I hear about it on iOS, and I download it, and I go, okay, Facebook has a new app.
I wonder if they're trying some new hardware. That'd be really interesting, seeing that how failed the Facebook phone was.
Right, Facebook Home. It's
yeah, Home was terrible.
Yeah,
although Tony loved it.
Well, you know, it seemed like, and that was their last big event, right? It seemed like nobody thought it was badly executed. It was just sort of a bad idea.
Yeah,
to have Facebook at more of a root level of anything. It's like, well, why? Who loves it that much?
Yeah.
You know, who wants Facebook to be your lock screen, right? So, I don't know.
Curious.
Well, you know, this time next week, we will know. And so we will talk about it. But, yeah.
Can't wait to find out.
Everybody get ready for June 20th. Reminder, thanks to everybody who wrote in and called in. Remember to keep those voicemails a little bit shorter. 30 seconds or less is the magic number. You can always send us a video. Write us at thesocialhour@twit.tv, and that voicemail number is 2626-SOCIAL. Bit of an unconventional Google Voice number, but it works. 2626-SOCIAL. And then leave us a message about anything that's just on your mind or a social network that you have some opinion on or a question. We'll take them all. All right, before we get to Rad or Fed, which Shannon is going to take care of this week in Amber's absence, let's quickly take a moment to thank Squarespace. They are our third and final sponsor of this episode of The Social Hour. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform. It's not just a blog. It's not just a hosting service. It's not just a place to be able to sell things. It's all of those things. All-in-one platform that gives you a professional website, portfolio, online store, everything all in one. It just depends on how you want to use it. Squarespace has rolled out quite a few product features since it launched its platform upgrade last fall. And Squarespace has a 24/7 support team. So if you're already a Squarespace user, you should really check out some of their new templates that they've rolled out. You know, maybe you're happy with your site, but maybe you could use kind of just like a little bit of a design refresh. They've got some great templates. But if you haven't ever used it before, you know, Squarespace is pretty easy to use. There's a lot of drag and drop functionality. You can get started with a template. You can hack it to death and make it look really, really, really unique, where you don't have to do much work at all. But if you ever need help, that support team is really nice to fall back on. Sometimes I get a little ambitious and I start, you know, hacking my CSS, and that's all possible with Squarespace, and then all of a sudden things aren't rendering correctly and I get really confused, and I've leaned on their support team more than once. And plans start really reasonable, as low as $8 per month for both software and hosting. So that's a real value. I mean, if you've got something that you never want that site to go down, you're hoping to get quite a bit of traffic, and you want something that's really, really reliable, that is Squarespace. I mean, you could just see some of these designs. They are lovely, but it's also fast and easy to use. If you're used to something that's very capable, you can throw up photos. You know, you can link to other social network activities. Squarespace is great for that too. Even if you want to maintain a blog, but you don't blog all that often, you don't want something that seems like you've kind of abandoned it. You've got great little widgets for Instagram and activity on Pinterest, if you're a Pinterest user, or Google+, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the big players can be piped into Squarespace, so you've got this neat dynamic website. So sign up for a free account today. To do that, you just go to squarespace.com, and you don't need a credit card. You can just try out Squarespace and start building your website. Then, if you decide to purchase a plan, use the offer code SOCIALHOUR6, and you get 10% off your first purchase on new accounts. That applies to monthly and annual plans. So if you want to sign up for a year, you get your 10% off. And if you're like, well, let's figure out a monthly thing first until I know exactly how I'm going to use Squarespace, you still get that 10% off. So new accounts can all benefit. Again, that's squarespace.com, and use the offer code SOCIALHOUR6. All right. I almost called you Amber because I'm so used to saying, all right, Amber, it's time for Rad or Fad. But this is, Shannon, this is your pick this week. And this is the part of the show, right before we wrap up, we kind of figure out what's new out there and do we think it's cool or not? Is it rad, or is it just one of those passing fads?
So I won't tell you if I think it's rad or fad quite yet, but my pick is StitchFix.com. So are you a fan of any of those specialty box orders that you can do online of like wine or, you know, cat toys or fashion?
I actually just signed up for a monthly service that allows me to try out jewelry. And then I either have it's a little subscription service, and it's called Roxbox.
Cool.
And if I like it, I pay for it, and if I don't, then I send it back, and then it's just like a monthly service that I'm basically renting jewelry.
This is exactly what that is.
Really?
This one is for women's fashion.
Oh, cool.
So girls like me and you know, we have full-time jobs. We're at work all the time, constantly. For me, I'm moving this week, and I had to go to E3, so I don't have time to go shopping.
No.
But sometimes I get that itch, and I'm just like, God, I really want to go buy a new t-shirt, or I really want to go buy some fashion statement jewelry or something like that. So what Stitch Fix does is sets you up with your own personal stylist. You pay $20, and you can do a subscription fee every month if you wanted to, just like Roxbox. And they will send you a box of 5 different products that they think you will like, and you get to choose whether you like them or not and send back whatever you don't like.
I love it.
So what is cool about this is, number one, it's $20 a month if you sign up for it, or you can just do like 1 box off the top and nothing else after that. And when you receive it, after you've set up a profile online, you tell them what sizes you like, what's your specific style, what kind of colors you prefer, and what kind of patterns and stuff like that, so that they send you almost exactly what you prefer.
This is so cool. Yeah, because the other service that I mentioned is just jewelry, which is fine.
Yeah.
But this is a little bit more of like pulling together an entire look.
It is. And they'll even have you linked to your Pinterest account. So if you tag a whole bunch of different fashion that you really like, they'll look at it and they'll say, oh, okay, she really likes floral patterns, so let's send her some floral patterns this time. Once you choose the things that you want to keep and the ones you want to send back, you can make comments on their website and say, hey, I really didn't like this. Don't send me this color next time. And they won't send it to you. So I've had 2 boxes so far. The first one I only kept 1 piece, and that $20 that I paid for that box goes towards that shirt. So I got like it was almost like a $20 discount off the top, but I know I already paid that. And then the second time, I kept 2 things. So they are definitely, my stylist is learning what my favorite colors and my favorite choices are over time. And in the end, if you end up keeping all 5 products that they send you, you get a 25% discount. So it's kind of like getting a free box.
So really, in a perfect world, your virtual stylist eventually is like, I know what you want.
Yes, exactly.
And then you end up saving money.
Yeah.
Because you like everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, who has a personal stylist?
It's like I was a little curious, so I was like, I'm gonna do some research and make sure they don't increase the price at all for the styling. Because really, I don't know how they're making money off of this, since that $20 goes towards the clothing, unless they get like a manufacturer discount or something. But I looked it up. They don't increase the prices on any of the brand names at all. So you get it at the brand name price. Not any kind of increase.
Well, they're probably getting it at cost.
I assume so.
You know, they've got to be in the business of getting some sort of a transaction price. But this stuff is awesome. And that's the thing is, I certainly don't have the time and certainly not the money to hire somebody to be like my personal shopper. And yeah, I'm with you. I like shopping once in a while, but I don't
have time for it. So it's so much fun to get. It's kind of like getting a Christmas box in the mail every month. You get to try on all these clothes in the comfort of your own house, and then send back whatever you want. And the return is free, so you don't have to worry about that.
And I think, you know, if you've said like, I really like yellow, you might it might be a little bit different when you see something on the rack and it's like you're tired and you're in a store and you're like, ugh,
Yes.
I just can't do this. I don't want to. And having something delivered to you where you open it and you're like, yellow, I like it.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Stitch Fix.
Stitch Fix. Yeah,
Stitchfix.com. I think
they're currently, I believe they still have a wait list.
Okay.
But if you have a referral code, it bumps you up in the wait list a little bit
Oh,
further.
okay.
So
Got it.
if anybody on Twitter wants it, I can always send you my referral code.
Awesome.
I also get a little discount off the top if somebody signs up with mine.
yeah.
But the reason I
Incentive
wanted to
for
bring it
everybody.
up, maybe not everybody here is a female that, you know, watches the show, but there's definitely a lot of males that might consider this as a gift for their girlfriends.
Absolutely.
Or for their wives. And there's also a whole bunch of other boxes like that out here right now. And I don't know if they're necessarily a rad or if they're a fad right now. There's like Bark Box for dogs.
Oh, is
There's
there?
wine services. There's Bespoke Post for men. And then there's Stitch Fix for girls. Rocks Box, everything.
Yeah, it's one of those markets that it's almost like, you know, the ride sharing frenzy right now. It's like everyone goes, this is a great idea. This is a great idea. And how do they all survive?
Right.
They probably all won't.
Yeah.
But at this point, it would be a really nice gift.
It
I
would
mean,
be.
people who know women that like to shop, this is a lovely gift.
It's very useful. and
Because it's fun.
And they'll also reply to you on Twitter if you ever have a question about a style or something. They post a lot of photos of new products that they get in. So you can always message them and be like, hey, add that to my box next time. And that's really cool too.
Yeah.
So I've liked them so far.
So you
they're
can
in
have
San
as much
Francisco.
input or be as hands-off as you want.
Yeah, you can. I definitely say more input is better because your stylist will learn you
Right.
a lot faster.
Yeah.
So you'll end up getting a lot more fashion that is in your norm or in your comfort zone.
Well, I love it. I think it's pretty obvious that I think that this is rad.
I'll send you my referral code.
Okay, good. All right, we got a rad at the end of the social hour. Thank you. Very good pick.
Sure,
I'm actually
anytime.
kind of like, how did I not know about this?
I learned about it from Eileen and Veronica.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, that's, you know, we can't possibly ever keep up on everything. That's
Yeah,
the
so
that's
true.
the beauty of this show is that you learn things every week. And on that note, that is it for this episode of the Social Hour. We're at the end of our hour. Remember that we're live on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific. Our website is twit.tv/TSH. And thank you so much, Shannon Morse, for
Anytime.
filling in. It's so nice to have you.
You too. I have so much fun on the social hour.
Well, I have fun with you. It's nice too because since we work together, I'm just like, sit down, you'll be fine.
Yeah. And I'm always in the other room, so we don't always get to talk.
I know it's true. Shannon sometimes is stuck in her edit bay. Well, that's kind of
I like
what
to call
is.
it my hobbit hole.
The hobbit hole. Yeah. There aren't any windows in that room, and sometimes I walk in, I'm like, you guys, you need some fresh air in here. Have you been outside today? But no, thank you so much.
Anytime.
Come back anytime. And for us, Amber will be back next Friday. We've got a regular show next Friday as usual. So thanks to everybody who watched and listened. We'll see you next week on The Social Hour.